someday I'm gonna make great machines that fly. And me and my friends are gonna go flying together into the forever and beautiful sky. Lila and Teeps and Flora and me. Rocket.
Are you a fan of the franchise? Have you seen previous Guardians or?
Yeah, I love the Guardians of the Galaxy. I thought the first two were, as far as Marvel goes, pretty good. I think that they kind of set the stage for like what Marvel was then to become as far as humor, which I do think kind of went overboard. But I did like the first two. I really didn't like this last one, to be honest.
Whoa, that's controversial.
I know, because everybody loves it. I was trying to find, but I didn't like it because it was really hard for me to get past seeing these like tortured animals.
Yeah.
I'm not saying nobody else is a huge animal person, but I cannot see animals like suffering like that. It just ruins a movie for me.
But it's tricky because what does that say? That any film that discusses things that you don't like, you wouldn't enjoy? Can you separate this? Or obviously if the films like that have those traumatic themes, does that get like instant ban for you? Like, can you get over this? Or
like, I mean, I guess I feel better about it now. It was just watching it initially, I was stressed out.
You were having a hard time. Yeah.
But, and I mean, I think that the story was I really liked that whole storyline. I thought that was really well done. It was just really hard to watch for me. And there are a lot of movies that I don't necessarily like things about, but then it makes me like it. Like, there's a movie where everybody dies in the end of it, and it's like really awful, but I love that they did that, Yeah. Like, I hate that it happened, but...
Can you say the film was still good? I think we should clarify. Because you didn't like it, does it mean the film is badly done? Or is it well done?
I just kind of think it's hard for me to say that. I think it was well done, and especially for how the direction that Marvel's been going in anyway lately, I do think it was better than the other ones. But I'm kind of sick of it now. So there's also that for me to say. Like, I can't really say, oh, it was so great as a Marvel film, because I'm so done with it. It was just kind of too corny for me, honestly. It was like there was too much corniness and then darkness. So it's like, I think if they'd gone in one direction or the other, I would have, I could have bought it more. But what about you? What did you think?
I know what you mean. At the same time, like, even though I mean, okay, I should probably start with I haven't seen the first two. So it was an I know, but it is an achievement for a film to get me interested, even though it's a finale to a trilogy of a universe that I really don't care about, because yes, I am not that big of a Marvel fan or DC fan. I've always been more of a Star Wars girl, obviously, as I always keep saying. But yeah, like, that didn't stop me from allowing myself to enjoy it. I didn't not have like high expectations of it, because I kind of did, because of how everyone were hyping about the whole Guardians of the Galaxy, and obviously I did see them in the Infinity Wars and then the Endgame and stuff. But like, I had no expectations, or like, I mean, my expectations were sort of high, but I was kind of ready to be disappointed, and maybe that's why I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the star of the show, the Rocket. I really wanted to talk to you about the Rocket for a number of reasons. Obviously, we were exposed to, I mean, spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen it, but like, the film shows very cruel animal testing and experimentation scenes that are very graphic, very gory. Even the sounds didn't help. Like, there was a lot of things that was just, it was really difficult to watch. So I completely understand your point. It was a lot. And I cannot imagine what it must have feel like for someone who really deeply loves and cares for animals, like I know you do. Like, yeah, you've always said that. I know that you advocate for animals' well-being strongly. So it must have been traumatizing. But that's what I was thinking. Like, Rocket was unconscious for most of the film, but then he was such a big part of the film. He was almost like a heart of the existence. And I found him so likable to the point that I absolutely believed that a raccoon like Rocket who speaks, is somewhere out there. And I am finding this so fascinating, and I just want to understand, or like, let's just kind of talk about it and see, maybe we'll arrive at some conclusion. Like, why is Rocket so likable? Like, what made him the star of the show, apart from its cuteness and fluffiness? Yeah. What is it?
Yeah, that's a good question.
It's
I don't know.
loaded.
I mean, it's interesting that they chose a raccoon. Well, I mean, okay, like this was the animal that was picked for the comics, right? But it's interesting that people could fall in love with a raccoon, because a lot of people associate raccoons with, like, they carry rabies, they're pests, they just get into your garbage, and that's it.
Right.
And so to be able to sympathize with that kind of animal, who's also, like, he's not even a cute and cuddly version of a raccoon. It's Bradley Cooper with, like, a New Yorker type accent, yelling and swearing at everybody. I don't know.
Do you think it's the fact that we all know someone like Rocket, or like we have met someone who could be Rocket, like in real life, like this kind of explosive kind of New Yorker type, this lad kind of thing that is obsessed with cars or with techie things. I don't know. It feels like we all met that kind of person.
And then deep down, they're hiding all of their struggles and insecurities. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's most of us, but yeah.
I mean, that's what got me most. Like the fact he was refused to be called Raccoon for the longest time. He was getting angry for people calling him the Raccoon.
Yeah.
Even though he was technically a raccoon, and it took him 3 films to accept the species he is. Like, I found it very meta in a way.
Because, I mean, I guess, like, I don't know if it's because I was a little I don't know if this is, like, stupid that I wasn't sure, but part of me was like, is it because he feels so far removed from being a raccoon? Like, does he actually know? Like, does he remember that he was a raccoon? Or was he so traumatized that he kind of forgot and then wasn't totally sure?
So you had that thought all throughout the series? Or
yeah, pretty much.
That's interesting. Wow.
Yeah, okay. I was always, and then seeing him in this last one, it wasn't until he saw all the babies, and then he saw the sign that said raccoon, and that's when he finally was able to accept, like, that is me. And
yeah.
Are you crying?
Crying. No, yeah. I remember. No, I did cry in the cinema. I did cry in the cinema at this that scene.
Yeah.
Even though I haven't seen it. Obviously, I've seen some memes and stuff, and I have seen scenes, and I knew that Rocket always had this conflict about him being the raccoon. And obviously that joke was played a few times in the third one. But I don't know, there was just something so beautifully, like, poetic, like a good catharsis to have that, like, yeah, I'm a raccoon. I did get emotional in the cinema when that happened.
Yeah, and it was so sad. It was so strange though that, like, that's what was it that he, like, I genuinely just don't know. Like, did he actually forget, or was he just in denial the whole time?
A lot of people that experience, I mean, we're gonna touch upon psychology here, but sometimes when you're like a survivor of something very traumatic or very, like, difficult for you, you do tend to repress those memories. So the trauma associated with that place might have been so deep with him that he did repress that memory purposefully. Like, he didn't remember any of it. That's why the whole film was, that's why I mean, okay, and this is just a raccoon. This is raccoon, and there's just so many layers that we could just, like, probably talk for a whole hour just about Rocket's journey. But what helped him become that? So kind of going back to the first question, but like instead of the character, but like instead of, like, sort of character and his actions within the story, how do you think the Guardians managed to achieve that? You mentioned Bradley Cooper, which I think has a lot to do with the Rocket being successful and so captivating, because Bradley Cooper is an extremely versatile and charismatic. And I don't know if you've seen the Silver Lining Playbook.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I thought, okay, this guy has this range of things rather than that. Like, that was very moving.
Yeah.
So him, in my opinion. And what else? What do you think? What else helps this performance?
I mean, I think it's also what you said a little bit before, that we kind of know this type of person. You know, we know so many guys who are like this, and the fact that he's trying to be somebody that he's not. I mean, he is being himself. He's being exactly who he's supposed to be. But at the same time, he's very obsessed with proving it. Not necessarily, like, he acts like he doesn't care, but you know he does. And it's he's always out to prove that he's not what people are saying he is.
Yeah.
A raccoon.
Yeah. It must be tiring as well, leaving such deep denial.
Yeah. But that was really beautiful that he finally, his whole story arc just finally, like you said, comes to, this is who I am. And that it took him seeing other little babies, you know, and that he needed to save them. I thought that was just that was really lovely. Now I want to cry.
Accepting who he truly is, honestly.
Yeah.
Okay, speaking of baby raccoons, you have a story to tell. Because, oh my goodness, like, you actually have a real life raccoon. Or you had it? What's the update?
They're with rehabbers now. So, because they're technically illegal to have in Illinois, like, you know, certain states, they're legal in, like, Wisconsin, obviously Florida, South Carolina, Indiana.
Okay, so if I was living in US, I would not be able to get a pet raccoon in some states.
In some, like, pretty much most states.
Okay. And
so
how illegal is it? Like, what's the severity of illegalness? Is it like, I don't know, is it drugs illegal or alcohol illegal?
Like, you're not going to go
illegal?
To prison. No.
Okay.
Like, but you will get a fine, and they do, like, see, there's a very sad side to this whole life of raccoons, like wild raccoons, because it's, if they, you know, find you with them, they'll fine you, but they'll also take them away, and they usually just kill them. So, and also, you know, just like, we're going to get more into it, but I didn't take these as, like, pets or anything. Yeah.
And also, I'd like to clarify one thing. I never considered adopting raccoon. I'm just asking a question. I never even thought about it. But I mean, if someone out there got too invested in the Guardians of the Galaxy, I think we should kind of put the brakes on them and just make them aware that it's not as easy to get a raccoon, be friends with you. But hang on. 10 steps back. You have a raccoon, or you had a raccoon. How did that happen?
Well, okay, so it went from 1 to 3, and they were all siblings. So, and this happened because we had a raccoon mother have her babies in our attic. And we didn't kick her out for some reason. I don't think we knew she was there for a while.
You were breeding raccoons in your attic.
Yeah, we're having an underground raccoon breeding facility. Yes. And so one of the babies went. Babies, when he was like, no, it's really fine. When he was like about 5 weeks old, I think 5 or 6 weeks old, and they're still pretty, like, they're able to move around, like, their eyes are open at that age, they can hear, yada yada yada, but, like, they're still like decently helpless at that age. So he fell down, and this is pretty common, from the attic into the wall in our house, and he did it, like, near my mom's room, so she could hear him crying for 2 days. And we're thinking, well, maybe he'll get back to the mom. And then finally it was just kind of like, doesn't seem like that's the case. My mom called him, and he actually came out. She didn't call him like, hey, raccoon. She like played
Rocket.
Like, yeah. hey, what do you want? No, but she played like a raccoon recording, and then he came to the vent she got him out, and like
Oh,
he
that's
just
smart. Okay, so
yeah.
that's something we should actually keep in mind. If you find a raccoon, play a raccoon recording. Okay.
So I have it was kind of miraculous that we got the other two, and I'll tell you why in a second. But so and how to do it. Maybe this will help other people if they're dealing with this. So we got him out, and he'd been so exhausted, he just like fell asleep in my mom's arms. And so this is also super important for anybody who ever finds a baby raccoon. One, you shouldn't always just take them if you're not sure that the mother, because you might just be taking them away from their mother. In this instance, he'd been in there for 2 days. She didn't take him, and he was obviously like starving, dehydrated. So we had to like intervene at that point. We took him. You should never, if you don't know what you're doing, like as far as like feeding them and stuff like that, like don't feed them if you take them. Like first thing you should do is call a rehabber. They can help you. Either if they have the room, they'll take it, or they will explain to you what you should do.
Yeah, and it's very important. You shouldn't try to figure it out on your own and stuff. Like always ask professional.
No. Right.
Someone who actually knows. Yeah.
Yeah. For us, it was, I'm not trying to say like I'm above anybody, but we've had a lot of animal experience, baby animal experience. And when we were little, we did actually raise raccoons as well. Not like for a long time. We just had a couple of raccoons, again, also orphans, and we only had them for like a few months as well. So we have that experience. So we like, it wasn't a situation where we didn't know what we were doing. And so if you're in a situation where nobody can help you, the first thing you should do is not feed them. You need to be giving them Pedialyte, plain Pedialyte with honey, because it's got to get like, they're so dehydrated, their organs are shutting down and everything. And if you just give them food, they won't be able to stomach it, and usually they can just die.
And is that specific to baby raccoons or raccoons in general?
It's specific to baby animals.
Baby
like
animals.
Wild baby animals. If you find it,
so
and
any animals, so not even raccoons, any baby animal needs that
pretty much
treatment.
if it's dehydrated, you should give it
Wow.
Pedialyte. And you don't just hand it a bowl. Like babies are nursing, their moms aren't feeding them like regular food yet. They're nursing. So like you have to get like a little syringe or something, and you can't just like shove it down because they can choke. Like it's a very difficult process. Like you really have to know what you're doing, because it's so easy for them to die in so many different ways. And another super important thing, never give them regular milk, not cow's milk, not like oat milk, whatever. It has to be, if it's a raccoon, it has to be like either kitten milk or puppy milk. Kitten milk replacement or puppy milk replacement, which you can get at like Walmart, pet store. And also I found out, if you get like, they have like different kinds, they have like a metal can, it's like about this big, of like the kitten milk replacement. I found out you have to cut that with water, like half and half. I was giving it they don't say it anywhere on the label. I was giving him like just the pure can, and then a rehabber told me
to mix it,
cut it with water. Yeah, she accidentally killed kittens doing that. So there's so much to it. Like this is the thing, like if you're gonna get into this, like it's a lot, and you're feeding them every 4 hours through the night. So like I would feed him at like, go ahead.
Because that's a lot of information. Do you think that's something, I mean, any rehabber, if you call them up, they can tell you this straight away? Like people don't need to
usually
worry.
But this is also information just in case, because there are a lot of rehabbers who like, they're busy. I called so many, they didn't get back to me. You know, there were some who did, and they were able, like, I'm not putting down rehabbers at all. They're very busy. They're overwhelmed. And the reason why we had ours for so long was because so many rehabbers were overflowing with raccoons. Like there was nothing we can do. And so this information is for people who get put into that position. Like the first thing you should do is try to get them to a rehabber. And if you can't, then this is like the steps to take to keep them alive until somebody can take them, or you might end up having to raise them yourself, because a lot of people have to do that. So
oh my god, it's crazy that you mentioned that. A lot of the times it was raccoons.
What? Yeah.
I'm back. Okay, a lot of the times it's actually raccoons that rehabbers are sort of overworked with.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's not just raccoons. There are other animals, but specifically everywhere. There was one rehabber I called. I mean, she has a whole big facility and she has volunteers coming, but she has like 170 raccoons right now.
Wow.
Yeah. And
wow. Okay.
Oh, but we got the other two. Okay, so yes, this is also an important quick story. Well, it's not gonna be quick knowing me. I'll try to make it quick. So we had okay, good. So we had the one boy for a couple weeks and we were like trying to get him to a rehabber. It kept like not working out. And I told you this, but there was a part of us that like we were trying to get him back to his mom, but we also like had a weird feeling like, and when I say we, I mean like my mom, my sister, and I all individually were like, something feels wrong. Like we're not supposed to do this right now, even though we wanted him to get like best case scenario is getting them back to their mom, but there was something that just felt off. And then this one day when if you're gonna reunite them, you're supposed to put them like in a big box they can't get out of. Give them like a hot water bottle wrapped in a towel so that they're not gonna freeze, but they're also not gonna burn by the hot water bottle. And put them out there. They should cry, and the mom, if she's gonna take him, she will. We put him out there. We just put him out there in his kennel just to see if the mom was around and if she would show up.
And you were observing the whole process. You were you didn't just leave him. And
no, we were sitting in the car just so that like if she was around, she wouldn't see us and we could just make sure everything went okay. Because there's also a situation where if it's not the mother that shows up, I mean, they can kill them. So we didn't want that to happen.
Oh my goodness. So, I mean, I can just imagine all three of you sitting in the car with binoculars.
No,
it makes me think of oh my goodness, Wes Anderson, not Midsommar, Moonrise Kingdom.
Yeah. I felt like a detective, like, you know, a cop on duty, and I was just sitting. I was like, man, I could really go for some donuts right now, you know, cup of coffee.
Love that.
But no, he was out there crying, and meanwhile we saw that a raccoon had been hit by a car near us, and we were like, well, maybe that's not the mom. But we went and checked, and it was clear she had been nursing, and she looked like just like the one we had, which if you do actually look at them, they do have differences. Their markings, their facial features, everything, they all look different. And these ones look similar. And we hadn't heard the mom for a while. We hadn't seen anything. So we were like, I think this is her. We came back. He was still outside, like near the house crying in the kennel just in case she was around. And then we heard his siblings in their roof were crying. And
they multiplied.
We were just like, oh my God, I think this was the mom hit by a car, and now we have these other two. So we love this.
I just called you this one day and you're like, yeah, I'm a mama to raccoon. And then a few days later I call you, yeah, now I have 3 raccoons. I'm like, what happened?
I know.
Like, are you breeding them? What are you doing?
No.
That is incredible.
So we were like freaked out because I asked a rehabber, like, what do you think we should do? And she was like, I'm sorry, there's really nothing I can tell you. Like, it's really hard to get them out of the walls when they're in there.
Yeah.
And so what we were doing was we were leaving bowls of Pedialyte. Like we knew that they were still nursing, but we figured if they were this hungry and stuff, if they've been in the walls for a while, like they will hopefully figure it out. So we were leaving because we couldn't just reach them. So we put bowls of Pedialyte like where we thought they were, like in the walls, like in vents and stuff, and they were actually drinking it, so they were staying hydrated. And then after doing the Pedialyte, we would put like, this is such a weird thing to do, but we put like little cans of like kitten food for them, and they were eating that too. So finally, and we knew
that's also something useful, like, so even if you physically can't get to raccoon, you can still help it out. Or like any animal, like you don't need to hold on to it. You can trust the process, just like help it out with resources, but really allow them to figure it out. It's really clever.
But in this case, like, if we had just left them, they were still stuck in the walls, and they probably would have died if we left them. So we did have to get them out. So we got like a raccoon trap. We put like Pedialyte and kitten food, you know, which they'd been used to eating from us, in there. And then within like a day, we caught one. And then the next day, we caught the other one. And they were terrified. They were like, they were so, they didn't trust us, obviously.
It's because it's crazy that after watching the first, their brother fell and not reappearing, they would still follow the same thing. And also then you were trapping them within the raccoon trap, right?
Yeah.
And they still they weren't able to process that, hey, this is danger, because they all fell for their same thing.
I think it's also, I think it was like desperation. I think that they didn't understand the concept that going into this thing necessarily trapped them. I think it was just the one went in first. The other one, who, like, since we've gotten to know them, she's clingier to the sister. And I think it was just kind of like, I need to find her kind of thing. Like, and they're so little, you know, like of course they're going to fall for these.
How big were they?
They, probably about that big, I want to say, when we got them. My hands look huge.
That's so cute.
I'll put it back here, so it's like, but
it's tiny. Love it.
Yeah, and they were like, for the first few days, they were so afraid of us. Like, anytime we went into, because we just kept them in a kennel to calm down, a quiet place where they could rehydrate, eat, and we were kind of afraid of them because they were acting aggressive, but they were more bark than bite. And eventually then we brought in the one we had to see them, like, to be like, hey, it's, you know, a family reunion. And they got really excited. The one of them was like reaching, it was so cute. She was reaching through the cage crying because she wanted to get at it. Oh my
God. And
the one we had, he was freaked out because he hadn't seen a raccoon in ages. And he was like, what is this? So then a few days later, we reunited them. We put them all together in a big cage that they could play in. And it took them like 2 days. They were freaked out. Like, he was freaked out. They were kind of not comfortable with him. And now they're like the best of friends, like snuggling together and everything, you know.
That is so cute. That is so adorable. Like, so you helped to reunite a raccoon family. Like, they got the happy ending. It's almost like Rocket.
Oh, that was what was hard, seeing the movie, thinking like, oh, you know, yay, it's about Rocket, and because we had the raccoons at the time we went to see
was that at the same time as you went to see it? The whole thing was happening. Oh my goodness.
We already caught the other two, so we had all of them and they were all safe. And
God.
We're like, yay, this movie will be so relatable. And then we just saw them being tortured. That was the hardest thing, was like having these raccoons and seeing them being like tortured.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that puts things into perspective. Now I completely understand. I thought that was like after you had them or before you had them, but that was you had them. Yeah, no, that must have been really, really hard for you guys to witness.
It was pretty awful. My mom was crying the entire movie.
I mean, I'm laughing for poor Mama Boeing. Oh my goodness. There must have been, this is the worst film. Like, I mean, now that I think about it, this might be the worst film to go and see after you're going through something like that at home.
I think
that's incredible. But okay, but now they've been taken. They're happy. They're with a rehabber now, and you no longer have your raccoons. But this is incredible story, and which has somewhat a happy ending.
Yeah,
I'm amazed.
Together and safe. We honestly didn't think we'd be reuniting them, because we're like, well, I guess we're gonna have to just give him to a rehabber alone. And that, we were like so sad about that. We kept thinking like, I don't want to do that because he's not gonna have his siblings. And it's not like we were like trying to take the siblings. It just so happened that we were like, oh, okay, well, here they all are now. And Yeah.
Let's help them out slightly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So instead of one raccoon mama, they had 3 human mamas.
Yeah.
Adorable.
Mostly me though, but yeah. I was doing
right. Let's do it.
I mean, I really was doing like the whole like the staying up all, like in the night doing it. Yeah, it's an exhausting, like you really are like a mother dealing with these raccoons. And so to anyone who wants to like keep them, as precious as they are as babies, once they reach like, I want to say like 6 or 7 months, you're usually supposed to like release them by 6 months, 5 or 6 months. And like once they reach 7 months to a year, they become very aggressive, especially the males, because they know they're supposed to be going off on their own. They don't start breeding then, but their animal instincts kick in. And so usually if you have them as a pet, like they can become really dangerous. They can attack you. They can really do some damage. I mean, like, you know how Rocket clawed that guy's face off? That's not really that far-fetched.
But so. Yeah. Wow. So essentially what we get to see from Rocket, it's not that unreasonable, something to witness. Which kind of, again, you can sort of translate, I mean, they are mammals just like us. You can kind of see the similarities, what happens to a man when stays at home for a bit too long or is domesticated. He goes nuts and you can kind of understand that. But my question was, so do you think that's why there's so much law behind raccoons or wild animals, because of how unpredictable they are or how much different they are? Because to be fair, I have no idea. I don't know anything about law regarding the wild animals, but I remember the first time you told me the story, we sort of briefly touched upon it, that it's much easier to come across a house pet or like a lost cat or a dog than a lost raccoon, because of how messy of a procedure and laws behind the whole process there are. Like, yeah.
I mean, of course it's going to be easier with cats and dogs because they've been domesticated for a couple thousand years now at this point. And with raccoons, it's even with them, like, because you can buy them from breeders in states where it's legal and everything like that. And there are people who have them, and they can make really wonderful. They become a part of your family. They're very loving, and usually for them to not become aggressive, you have to get them like fixed, which I mean, I know we do that to our cats and dogs. It does kind of make me sad, the thought of doing that to a wild animal. But I mean, that's hypocritical of me to say. And
because then what's the difference between a wild animal and domesticated animal?
Right.
Like,
and
we shouldn't draw that line.
Right.
Yeah.
And as long as you're treating them well. But with raccoons, they're a lot of work. You have to be with them 24/7 basically. They're destructive. They can get into anything and everything. They're thieves. Like, they will steal your stuff. My mom, we had the ones from when we were little. My mom lost her favorite bracelet, never saw it again.
Wow.
Things like that. They really are destructive. Like, they can tear into anything and everything. They need a lot of stimulation. They're very smart. And so, you can't just have them and then keep them in a cage. It's a miserable life for them. It's going to be a miserable life for you.
I mean, for any animal, keep staying in the cage. Yeah. There's something very cruel about being in charge of a life of something or someone like that. Like having this power to decide that this being kind of deserves or places in the cage. Like,
I know
it's a bit messed up.
Yeah, and that's the biggest issue is that sort of thing. There's also, I mean, I know a lot of states discourage it because they have a fear of and this is actually blown out of proportion. They say that raccoons are rabies carriers, which is true. I mean, any mammal can catch rabies, but rabies is not as prevalent, like, especially here, as they make it out to be. Like, there hasn't been a rabies case in a long time in Illinois. Lots of other states are the same. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, And I'm not saying you shouldn't be careful. I mean, you can give them rabies vaccines as well.
Yeah, they're very good vaccines and sort of treatments for it if you diagnose it early on. I know, because there's when I lived in Asia, there was like the constant potential kind of scare of rabies that you might get it from wildest animals. But obviously I was still petting every single street cat I came across in Bangkok because it was so rare to see like cats in Asia in general. But in Bangkok had cats, so I still petted whoever I could. But still, like I was observing those cats very carefully to sort of see if they have anything, and it was probably irresponsible.
No, I mean, but that's pretty common. I mean, I did the same thing in Greece. I'm not recommending anybody do it either, but Greece
let's just make it clear: don't touch wild stray cats, dogs. Just don't.
Yeah,
there is a chance they might have rabies.
Yeah, but you can usually tell if they have something. I mean, they're acting strange, foaming at the mouth.
That's right.
You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, here there really hasn't been, and that's usually why, like, if they find somebody who has a raccoon like illegally and they take it away, they kill them because they just automatically are like, they probably have rabies. And the way you check for rabies is you have to kill them. It's kind of brutal. Kill them, cut off their heads, and then check that. Like, I don't really understand the science that goes into it, but they do it that way. So you can't check when they're alive. And none of them have it, pretty much.
Insane.
Yeah.
That's the procedure.
Yeah.
Like, why even mutilation? Why is that even a thing? Why not just... Why do you need to do this extra act? I don't know how to call it.
Yeah, I really don't like, I guess this is how
that's
the only
procedure.
way that they can.
That's how it works.
It's just like, I mean, why they usually end up not even having it, you know? And I would think, especially if you're, and again, I'm not encouraging people to have them illegally, but I'm just saying, like, if you've had them in your care for like several weeks or whatever, they're obviously, I mean, the signs show up pretty early. Like, obviously they're not going to have it. They're not just going to be carrying it.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that they don't carry other diseases, and I don't encourage people to just take them. I mean, if you want them as a pet and you live somewhere legally, like, sure, go for it. You think you do need a permit. And
you need to check. I mean, even getting if you adopt a cat or a dog, at least here in Europe, you still get a full documentation of the pet's kind of health or vaccines or illnesses they had, so like you are aware of what's happening, and it's a good practice to essentially know what your pet has and hasn't got.
Yeah.
Wow, that's such a full circle from the raccoon, Rocket the raccoon, to Catriona actually raising a real life raccoon and making life a better place.
Well, hopefully.
Thank you for your service to the animal kingdom.